Welcome to the Local Marketing Source Weekly Update, brought to you by localmarketingsource.com.
This week's Local Marketing Update is brought to you by Scott Gallagher. Scott is the co-founder of Local Marketing Source and has become the recognized expert in providing online marketing services to local businesses. Follow Scott on Twitter at ScottGallagher5 and on Facebook.com/Scott P. Gallagher.
Hey, well, good afternoon, everyone. Scott Gallagher here with Local Marketing Source, bringing you our weekly local marketing industry update. Now, next week's LMS member call is going to be Wednesday, August 13th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And speaking of Eastern time, here I am still in Eastern time because I am stuck on Manitoulin Island. And, it's funny how things happen and things happen for a reason. Definitely can't complain, but I am up here with my son and now my daughter, and it is just fantastic. And it's 17 years old, and you sit back and boy, am I ever thankful that I am in the business that I am in. I've got the freedom to be able to travel and enjoy it, and that's what we're talking about here today. We've got a few LMS students on the line, and a couple of things that are going on inside the member Facebook group that I want to talk about. But before I get to some of that, just some of the weekly update stuff we're going to cover today is non-mobile friendly sites that are disappearing from the top Google results. And, this is something we've been talking about for some time. The results are coming out. And we'll talk a little bit about a promotion opportunity for you. Number two, Google is testing different pack layouts with the new local finder. Well, Google is always testing, and we're kind of reverting back about 3 years. So I find that a little interesting. And Yahoo is getting into the discussion this week in regards to reviews and their support and their relationship with Yelp. Now, before I get into that, I did want to talk about and address some of the questions in the member Facebook group. And there was some discussions in regards to some content on Cornerstone content. And it comes from a couple of different sites, but it's in regards to Yoast and Yoast being a plugin. And I will just read what the student says here. It says, so I'm to understand from an SEO perspective that it's best not to put the same focus keywords in other pages supporting main content pages, but more so focus on the main topic and just write supporting material that links back to the main content and not put the same focus on keywords on the post. So for example, if you're working on a website, let's say a real estate agent, and your main goal is to rank for the keyword buying a home, you would focus your SEO ranking efforts on the buying a home page where they describe their services and how they do business, etc. If I had 10 articles on 10 different topics related to buying a home, like buying the home process, etc., wouldn't you put buying a home as the focus keyword? Blah, blah, blah. I hear this and I see this quite often. And after reading that, I went, oof. That's a mouthful. There's quite a bit that's involved here. And let's take a little bit of a step back and take off our SEO hat for a moment and talk about what a website really is for a real estate agent and for a consumer that's in the process of buying a home. Well, if I were buying a home, there's certain questions that I would want answered, such as, I don't know, perhaps property taxes in a particular area, or getting the house looked at, and how to determine if it's a good buy or not a good buy. There's just so many questions that come to mind as a consumer. Well, a real estate agent, a good real estate agent, is going to have all of those questions answered in a digital form. And that real estate agent is going to be a good marketing individual that's going to go out and probe their audience to know the answers to all of this, and then package it up into a website that's easy navigable, easy to get around, and the answers are there, and they cover all their answers. Well, that real estate agent is more likely to build a relationship with a consumer that they've never seen before on the internet than a real estate agent that doesn't have that. So that's your number one focus. If you are building a website, forget about SEO and answer the questions that the consumers are asking in order to make a purchase with or build a relationship with that business. Well, the question comes, well, how do you bring that into SEO? If you did exactly as I described, build a website that's got a variety of pages, one page is like a chapter of a book, it's a focus of a topic. Well, that topic we call keywords. We don't have to call them keywords, we can call them topics, and effectively build that site so it's easy for the consumer to navigate through the website and answer all of those questions. Now, when we look at the 3 pillars of SEO and how that's going to particularly apply, because you notice this question is regards to on the page SEO. And we know on the page SEO only represents about a 20% of the weight of ranking. 80% of the weight generally is related to everything else that's on the internet. You're going to get those questions answered in IE with a Yoast plugin. That's where you control title tags and certain links and whatnot. Well, buying a home. The process to buying a home is going or could be the title of that page. Now, as I mentioned, looking at the 3 pillars of local SEO, we've got citations and profiles and reviews that could also be addressed directly to this quote unquote keyword of buying a home. Profiles, obviously, when a real estate is listed on a variety of different profiles that exist out there, they're going to maximize the number of categories that they are ranked in. In other words, real estate is probably a pretty prominent category among all the profile sites. You could even create your own customized categories with those profile sites, such as buying a home, that allows you on your profiles to get that keyword that's in there, as well as in the description. You talk about a real estate agent, here I'm on Manitoulin, we'd write something like Manitoulin's #1 real estate agent for buying a home. And you're getting your particular keywords into, the descriptions and whatnot. Looking at citations, these are web references. We've talked about that a lot. That's building different types of third-party content and getting it out in press releases and publications and news and whatnot. And then finally, your reviews. And if you're utilizing the LMS review acquisition strategy in the SOS email autoresponder, you'd indicate, how was your experience in buying a home? Please share your experience about buying a home through this real estate agent. Provided that, they've already given you a verbal thumbs up and a verbal recommendation. Those would be the souls that you would put through the review acquisition strategy. But you notice what I did there is I did planting. Now we're getting into some psychology, some micropsychology that's, if you could share your experience of buying a home, please go here, blah, 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 and tell us about your experiences of buying a home, whether buying a home was positive or buying a home was negative, and blah, 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 buying a home. It's going to be in their lingo when they go and leave the review. So you could also manipulate the 3 pillars, in a sense, towards the focus of a keyword. The next thing that was in there was in regards to margins, profit margins, and I wanted to talk about this because as new students come into Local Marketing Source, it's the same conversation every single time. That how much should I be charging? Well, if somebody's only got a $500 a month budget, why can't I just charge $500 a month and give them $500 a month worth of services? Well, this is your business. You do what you want. I'm only going to share my opinions and my thoughts. And, the margins that we operate in are anywhere on the broad spectrum from 30 to 70%, but more so around the 50% mark. And that's, I'm running about a 40% margin in terms of my services. And, at $500 a month, you start to look at that running a, 30 or 40 or even a 50% margin, your profit's looking at a couple $100 a month or less. And to pay somebody and allocate a couple $100 worth of activity towards that to get that done, How much work in a 30-day period is going to be done for $200 or $300 that you have to play with? That's all you have to play with if you're getting a $500 budget. You're going to underserve these clients. And in my opinion, if you are not doing the best job and doing a job right, it's like trying to build a home that says, you know what, let's skimp on the nails. Instead of using 2x6s, let's use 2x4s. And guess what? That home's going to fall over. It's going to fall down. If you're going to do a job, get it done and do it right. It's as simple as that. Otherwise, in the big picture, you're not going to be able to get the testimonials from your customers. They're not going to be satisfied with the results. And the fact is if they're only, and they come to you and say, well, we only have a $500 budget. Well, man, I've been talking to my buddy 3 years ago, he picked up a camera and fell in love with it. And ever since then, he's been doing a lot of boudoir work and wedding work and whatnot. He actually photographed my sister's wedding. He's extremely good at it and extremely passionate about it and loves it. And I remember having a conversation with him saying, Mike, man, you could be doing this full time. He's from Northern Ontario and Sudbury. He's a miner. And you could be doing this. He said, well, maybe when I retire and whatnot. And so after he was, after he'd gotten some gigs, he's bringing in about 25, 30 grand a year from his photography now. He's got a $12,000 camera set up. And I'm like, dude, I met with him a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, it's time. You can go full time now. When you're working at 30 grand, I said, but you got to start spending some money on marketing. And he goes, well, so let's start to work something out. And he brings in 3 grand a client. He says, I can't afford to take less than 3 grand a client. I said, Mike, but you're making 30 grand right now. If you were bringing $100,000 and you were working at this full time, why are you looking at specifically at each individual one? And we went through the process. He said, businesses invest about 30% of their profits back into marketing, sales and marketing. It's as simple as that. That's the general average. Of course, different industries are quite a bit different, but even the biggest corporations spend 20, 30, and 40% of the money that comes in on getting new business back. So he was making 25, 30 grand a year, but he spent zero on marketing. So what if he turned around and took $1,000 a month? That's 12 grand a year. That's a lot of money. Can you imagine if a photographer was spending $12,000 a year on marketing their business? You should be bringing in 100 grand hands down. And he's like, wow, that's a lot of money. I'm only bringing in 30 grand from it. Yeah, well, eat ramen noodles for a couple of months. It's what you have to do. If you want to grow your business, it's what you have to do. So if somebody's sitting there and they say our marketing budget is $500 a month, that means that their annual revenue should probably fall into the $15,000 a year mark. Well, that's bullshit. They're not bringing in 15 grand a year and trying to talk to an SEO person. $500 a month budget is a bogus budget by most local businesses. They've got to spend more money. You're also a salesperson, and it's your job to demonstrate that. If their buying objection is that, otherwise, you walk. You're not going to make money. You're not going to do a good job for them. And marketing should not be looked at in regards to that type of budget. Now, the student that asked that question, Travis, is not on the line here. But I will have to, maybe I'll send them the recording. That'd be best. All right, now for the weekly update, I mentioned Google is testing different pack layouts with a new local finder. What did we talk about last week? The Snak pack, right? And we're starting to see some paid advertisements right into the local. Well, it's evident that Google, there's things that are changing at Google right now. We've seen a couple of screenshots. Actually, I've only seen one screenshot by one person in the United States. This is not standard or whatnot, but where was I going with that? Yeah, with the Snak pack that rolled out last week at the on the 3rd of July. But we're seeing Google Plus being removed out of this new local finder snack pack. The Google Plus links are being removed. So I got to ask the question of, well, what's going to happen to reviews? And what does that mean for Google's social network? And where are they able to pick up a lot of these social signals? Are they just hiding the links and not sending consumers to that social platform? But if they're not sending people to that social platform, then how are they going to pick up these social cues? So there's questions that I have in regards to these findings that we're seeing popped up with some of this testing over the next week. It's feasible that Google has built a relationship perhaps with Facebook, and it just has not hit mainstream media. That might be a very likely option. Who knows? Facebook has also failed a lot on the local sense, and Google has failed on the social sense. But the interesting thing is that they need each other. Social and local, in our world, in our domain of local search and social, need each other in order to get the effective results. Think about it. I go back to finding a restaurant that I like. And no web page on the internet is going to give me a better opinion. I'll take my brother-in-law and my sister. They are the biggest foodies I know. Whatever they say about food, I trust their opinion. And I can go on the internet and I can probably challenge a whole variety of their opinions on a consistent basis. But I know I trust their opinions over anything that's on the internet because they're real, because I've eaten with them, because I know their palates. So when it comes to food, I want to know people that have had that experience, people that I know, that I trust, that have that particular experience. Why is my computer not getting power? There we go. This place here, I don't know if you guys hear a buzz. That buzz is being picked up. I'm sitting next to the inverter running off the batteries and solar, and you got to be power Nazis around here. I'm constantly turning stuff off with the kids. But the fact is that social side, okay? If a search engine knew who my friends were and knew which friends I trusted for food, then Google, a good search engine, would probably want to go and find out from my friends. And of course, there's ways electronically to do that. That's essentially what I believe is generally being trying to be replicated in personalized local search with the social component to it. It also makes sense to me that the best form of marketing that has ever existed is word of mouth marketing. And so that's the social component that's brought to it. And the amount of data that's inside of Facebook compared to Google Plus is, absolutely unbelievable. Here's an interesting little statistic. Do you know that there's more content created on the internet today in a 24-hour period than the amount of content that was created on the internet in its first 20 years of inception? Between 1992 and 2012, there's more content created August 5th, 2015 than between 1992 and 2012. Crazy, huh? So getting back to this Google testing that we're talking about in regards to the local finder and its content is, I think that there's some big things that are happening. The fact that they're starting to phase out Google Plus, or they're even testing phasing out Google Plus, means that they've been talking about it for quite a bit. And these are tests that we're able to see. You see, this was something that was introduced in 2009 when Sergey Brin and Larry Page took back over the helm of Google. Every single employee of Google, their bonus for the year end was 100% predicated on the success or failure of Google Plus. It was such a big deal. They know that they need that social information. So the fact that they're pulling it out, at least testing it, I think we're going to read some big news in the next week or two of different partnerships. Now, when I start to talk about Yelp, this is where a potential conspiracy may be emerging and may be born. Is that, let's see if this is next in my notes here. Yeah. So Yahoo is no longer showing Yelp reviews. And what does that mean? Yelp and Yahoo did respond, but interestingly, Yahoo responded on Reddit. And it was somebody that claimed, quote unquote, claimed to be working for the Yahoo local team. That worked for Yahoo, but not necessarily the local team. Now, they did describe, and they say Yahoo Local doesn't use the Yelp API. Rather, we have a data feed from them that we merge into this feed. They'll be examining to see if this is what the problem. This Yahoo employee said that no, this is a problem. This might be a glitch. So I don't know if these two are connected, but I think it's very feasible. But I do believe that Google is in bed with some conglomerate of social. Best world, it would be Facebook. And rather than Facebook and Google constantly looking at each other and trying to take each other down in their world, Facebook wants to be in the search business. And Google wants to be in the social business. But both of them have failed at either of those, but done extremely well in their own domain. I wonder how long it's going to take before the shareholders of the world start to figure this out. And then you've got people on the board of directors on both of those businesses that worked their way into them and ultimately make it work to have that monopoly. And I think that's kind of scary, actually, because how can the FCC or the CRTC in Canada or whatnot regulate that? Because they're not necessarily merging. They would be sharing data among each other and then writing each other checks. And finally, did I not discuss it? We were gonna, yeah. Last thing in my notes, I didn't put it up in the overview. But Google was interviewed for the Panda 2 update, the Panda 4.2 update. Let me get down here. So Google has explicitly said, we know that the Panda update has continued to have multiple rollouts, and a lot of them have been slow. And this is coming from search engine land, by the way, this interview. And Google said that they are slow for technical reasons, but it is not done with the purpose of confusing SEO or webmasters. What is a politician working for Google, I think. Why would Google give any shit about an SEO? They don't want to be manipulated in the first place. So why they're even being politically correct when they say, well, we're not doing it to confuse SEOs. Who cares in their perspective? Of course we care because we are SEO marketers. But from their perspective, why would they even care? They are shifting their infrastructure to be more of a continuous change and a gradual rollout. Well, we've known this. And one thing that doesn't talk about a lot was their 928 algorithmic updates last year. That's like 3 a day. Another question. Some of my pages drop, but not others. Yes, pages have been hit individually by Panda and may show up in an impact at different times during the rollout. This is because of a very slow page-by-page rollout. Right, nice answer. But I thought Panda was site-wide. This is what's interesting. Google did say that Panda was a site-wide action. But what I think the SEO industry missed in terms of the consumption of this is that all a website is a collection of web pages that reside on one domain. Every web page has always had their own trust and always had their own authority and always had inbound and outbound links from internal sites, from internal pages, excuse me, and of course external pages. So we're going to see that quite a bit more, especially the fact that there's over 200 different signals that search looks at. And Panda is just one of those 200 signals. So it's challenging to isolate any of that. But it's definitely not. You're not going to get the same ratings from page to page. And, I hope that was evident and understood. How will I know if I've escaped Panda? What kind of stupid question is that? Why are you trying to run from the people you're trying to win with? So you're not trying to escape Panda. And if you're going to be hit, it's months before the entire rollout is going to be done, at least according to Google. And Google is saying that the next major update is going to be somewhere in the early 2016. So if you're looking, whether or not that you've escaped it, well, first off, you're not going to get your answer for several months. And number two, it's very, very difficult to isolate yourself among those signals. Man, I don't know what's up with me. I'm slurring. I haven't had a drink yet. Just fumbling. I guess I'm out of practice. I mean, we just came back from this phenomenal hike. Oh, love it. We should be outside doing this call. Now, what should we be doing to improve their website? Well, Google has never changed their advice on that. Okay? They're not going to change their advice. Read through the lines. The advice that Google is telling us without telling us is build a good site for the users. Content is king. Blah, 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 blah. They're giving the exact same advice that they said in 2011. And they'd point out that, act like a publisher. It's that simple. Now, the last thing on my notes here was just some discussion about non-mobile friendly sites disappearing from the top Google results. We've seen in the past what the company that did the survey surveyed over 1,000 different websites. So you're getting a good sample size. If you ever did anything in statistics class, we know that a sample size of 1,100 is the largest sample size that any population needs to get, a good margin of error below 3%. But they found that 83% of the sites in the top results are mobile friendly, and 81% of the time, all three results were mobile friendly. We know that these results vary among different factors, though. This study did not take that into account. So this data is irrelevant because you do get different results on mobile than you do on a desktop, than you do on a tablet, and then now our car and our television. And what's the difference between an iPhone 6 and an iPad 3 or 4, whatever we're up to, and my iMac, or my MacBook Pro, or utilizing my Apple TV? I'm an Apple guy, can you tell? But what's the difference between all of those? They're the same darn things. They do the exact same things. The difference is how I give it information, i.e. a keyboard or typing it on, or a remote control, or sitting in my car hitting a few buttons. And then how my eyes interpret that information that these electronic devices are given back to me. In other words, the big thing comes down to the display device. But in reality, people have different devices to use at different times for different purposes. It's that simple. The more you learn about what people are doing for what at what different times, your business, your local business or your local client's business is going to be reflective of that. What's that beeping we keep getting? Oh, it's people coming in. Turn that feature on. So when we start to see data just like this, we've got to interpret quite a bit, because we know that there's other factors that Google's putting into it in order to get the results, such as, what if you're at your home location, at home, and you're using your phone? You're probably going to get some of the same results as you would utilizing your computer. But if you were downtown Chicago and you were looking for results, well, maybe they're pulling in some social signals, but they're going to show it differently at that point in time, hands down, just based off of your location. But we know there's a whole variety of other signals and factors that is looked at. So take that with a grain of salt. Not every business needs mobile-friendly websites, but most do. And just as a side note, that's kind of a good in sometimes to redo a business's website. As a matter of fact, I got a promotion going out next week that's we'll take your local business website and convert it for $1,000 to mobile-friendly. All we're going to do is convert it to WordPress. It's that simple. Then we can get a theme that makes it mobile-friendly. We're not going to rebuild the website or rewrite the content or grab any new photography. Maybe some of the layout might have to change due to the theme itself. But heck, my developer can bang that out in 15 hours, 10 to 15 hours worth of work. If I'm billing, my work at $100 an hour, 10 hours, it's $1,000. So we're running a $1,000 promotion to convert your local business website to be mobile. And of course, you get a CMS, a content management system in the back. But that's it. That's the conclusion of my weekly update today. If you guys give me 30 seconds, I will be right back and we'll get into questions and answers.
Well, thanks for watching the Local Marketing Industry Update. We've got these things coming out every single week, so if you liked with what you heard, just click the button right above me right here to subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to get a little bit more, right over here, go check out localmarketingsource.com. We've got free reports that you can grab. You can even register for a free marketing course to get in and see the portal. Or just go ahead and follow us on some of the social channels. We'll be around. Until next time.